Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am presenting a full webinar this morning on visa delays, administrative processing, 221G, all the annoying things that the consulate is doing to people these days, the proclamations, the messages that are nonsense. I am going to tell you everything that you need to know about this. This is very exciting. I'm going to wait for a few minutes to get started to allow people to show up. So I hope everybody is doing well and everybody is having a fantastic day. Brendan, good morning. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. I hope this will be really interesting for you. If you or one of your loved ones has a visa that's stuck in administrative processing, or if you're having problems with the consulate or with the immigration system in general, if things are delayed, then this webinar will be very interesting for you. I'm going to give you a full-blown presentation that discusses all your questions. Here we have Ashiana. Welcome. Anthony, how you doing? I'm doing great. I'm going to answer all your questions, and if you stay to the end, I'm going to share a link with you where you can book a free consultation with me. I normally charge $100 for this, but anybody who stays to the end, we're going to give you a link to a free consultation. And I'm also going to answer any questions that you have, and I'm going to probably address those right in this presentation. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing well. I hope, Trisha, I hope you're doing well. It is a nice day here in Los Angeles. We have some decent air quality from the fires have been really tough, but hopefully I want to welcome everybody from YouTube. I want to welcome everybody from our Facebook group. We run a Facebook group that focuses on visa delays, 221G, and administrative processing. And also other people from Facebook and Periscope and all these other channels. So I'll get started. So the typical situation that I come across in my practice is that someone petitions for her husband or a spouse or a fiance, something like this. And everything goes fine. It takes about a year or so to get an appointment at the U.S. consulate. And then when they get to the U.S. consulate, they expect to be approved. But instead of being approved, the consulate just says, well, we're going to give you administrative processing. They give you a little worksheet, and the worksheet says administrative processing. And the question is, what does that mean? And people go online, they do all sorts of research, they try to figure out, what does it mean that we're in administrative processing? They expect to be approved within a month or within 2 months, but instead of being approved, their case gets delayed. And the weeks turn to months, and the months turn to years. People literally have their cases stuck for years. And they try to contact the consulate. The consulate doesn't give them any information at all. They go on to SEAC, CEAC, the State Department's website, and they get all these crazy messages like your visa's been refused and your case has been adjudicated. They get all this kind of garbage messages, and they just so what they do, they try to resolve it. They reach out to their senator or their congressperson. And the congressional representative gets involved and makes an inquiry to the consulate. And in exchange, they get a letter that says your case is pending in administrative processing, and it goes on and on and on. And most people who have this issue probably have a case, not always, but probably have a case that's at the U.S. consulate in Islamabad, Casablanca, Egypt, Abu Dhabi, or one of the other U.S. consulates in a predominantly Muslim country. So this is the typical path that someone comes to. By the time they get to me, their frustration level is to here. They have tried everything. Everything is stuck, and they're so incredibly frustrating. Maybe they hired a lawyer to help them resolve it, and the lawyer was unable to do it. So they've already dumped money into this. Their frustration level is absolutely off the charts. And people are also scared because you're petitioning for your fiance, your husband, your wife, your children, your parents. This is your life. This is your family. And the consulate just treats you like garbage. So that is a situation that most people have when they come to me. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Josh Goldstein, and I'm an immigration lawyer here in Los Angeles. And I help people get visas out of administrative processing, and I do it because I'm passionate about helping families get together and families be together. And I think that the immigration laws shouldn't keep people apart. They should be able to bring people together. There are laws in this country, and the laws are designed to help U.S. citizens and permanent residents and people with asylum petition for their family members. And I think the consulate should follow the law. And I think the immigration agency should follow the law. They have a legal obligation to give you a decision within a reasonable period of time. And my goal is to help people overcome these immigration hassles so you can be reunited with your loved ones. So I want to tell you a story to start off today. I want to tell you a story about the first case that I handled just like this. And I think this will give you some insight into it. So this is a couple that I represented myself. And this was at the U.S. So I prepared the case. The guy needed a waiver. It's a long story, but basically I sent my client to the U.S. consulate in El Salvador. And I told him, I said, listen, you're going to be gone a long time, but you can't come back until we get this waiver approved. But if you go there, I think that you have a reasonable chance of getting approved, and let's do this. So he was on board. We did it. He went down to El Salvador. We got the waiver approved. I called him up. He was crying tears of joy. My office, everybody was jumping up and down, giving each other high fives because we'd helped this guy. His wife was absolutely ecstatic. She was so happy to hear that the waiver that we approved, that the waiver that we prepared, that we worked so hard on, got approved. It was a great moment of success for my client and their lives. And after the waiver got approved, I expected that the consulate would just issue the visa to him within a week, 2 weeks, within a month, within 2 months. I thought it would be, some back and forth, but he would get his visa. But instead, that's not what happened. What happened is that nothing happened. He was just stuck there. And the consulate took no action on this at all whatsoever. So I tried everything. I called my senator. I talked to different lawyer groups about what to do to get this case approved, but it was just stuck. And after about 6 months, I had tried everything I knew to do as a lawyer. And finally I said, you know what? I'm so mad at them. I'm going to just sue them. And so I did. I filed a lawsuit in federal court against the consulate. And after I filed the lawsuit, lo and behold, the visa was issued. The delay was gone. And a little light bulb went off in my head. And I thought, that's weird. That worked really, really well. I wonder if there are other people who also have visas that are delayed. And then, before Donald Trump was elected, there would be cases stuck in administrative processing, but most of them would be delayed for 60 days or 30 days. And then after that, it would just sort of get approved. But now with Trump in power, this technique of delaying visas and using administrative processing against visa applicants is just what happens to many, many, many people. So there are lots of people with this sort of visa delays. And so now we are filing these lawsuits constantly, and they're very effective. But to start off with, I want to discuss with you some of the terminology. I want to clear up some misleading messages that you may have gotten. So the first message I want to explain is administrative processing. What is administrative processing? Essentially, administrative processing is just a delay. It means that you went to an interview at the consulate and then you're still waiting and it's delayed. That's what it means. It sounds like a big fancy word, administrative processing, but all it means is we're making you wait. Another word that is very confusing is the word refused. You'll see a message on SEAC that will say, your visa has been refused. We've adjudicated your visa and it's been refused. Well, refused seems to mean denied, right? If I walked up to someone on the street who didn't know anything about this and I said, the visa has been refused, the person would think that the visa was actually denied. But in this case, refused does not mean denied. Refused means pending, okay? Refused means pending. This is a source of a lot of confusion, but refused means pending. So administrative processing means pending and refused means pending. What about 221G? 221G is a section of the law that they cite. Okay, your case is under administrative processing for 221G. Well, what's 221G? 221G basically means delayed. Delayed. We're going to put you on hold. So refused means delayed. Administrative processing means delayed. And 221G means delayed. All three of those terms are synonyms and they mean the same thing. They just mean delayed. That's all it means. So there's one more message that I want to talk about, which is very confusing and very upsetting. You may have gotten a message recently that says your visa has been canceled under Section 203G for failure to take action within 1 year. Okay? Has anyone gotten that message? Your visa's been your visa's been canceled. Your visa's been canceled for failure to take action within 1 year under Section 203G. This is a message that goes out to people on the SEAC, the State Department's message system. And I want to tell you something. That message is, I assume that message is wrong. And I've gotten so many of my clients who contacted me about that message. They are so upset to learn that their visa has been canceled. Here's what I want to tell you. I'm giving you my dozen donut bet. I will bet you a dozen donuts that if you get the message that your visa has been canceled for failure to take action within 1 year under Section 203G, if you get that message, I will bet you a dozen donuts that that message is inaccurate. Okay? And I'll give you my address where you can send the donuts. I'm making light of this, and it's humorous because I am almost sure that message is inaccurate. And it's really unfair and cruel that they send out that message, and it's so inaccurate, but nevertheless, that's what it is. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is what causes administrative processing delays or visa delays or 221G. Why are cases not approved at the consulate? Why are they stuck in 221G? Why is everyone having these delayed cases right now? Well, I have a couple ways of answering that. The first way of answering that is that after being involved with countless lawsuits to help people whose visas are delayed, I can assure you that I have no insight at all into why anyone's case is delayed. They never explain to you while your case is delayed. They don't write out a detailed description of why your case is delayed. Typically, you go to the consulate, you expect to get your visa. Maybe they ask you for a little bit of paperwork, and then the case just gets stuck. They never give you any insight into why your case is delayed. And I'll tell you that there are a few ways to look at this. Number one is it's a mystery. So you're not going to get any great insights into why you were delayed. A lot of times people will say, well, my case is delayed under 221G administrative processing, but my friend's case was approved on the spot. He has the same case as me. How come this happened like that? And the answer is, I have no idea. It's a mystery. The second way of looking at that is that the consulate, either through incompetence or some other thing, is just delaying people. And maybe it has to do with the pandemic. The coronavirus is an issue, but these sorts of delays were happening before the pandemic started, and now they're happening even more. And I'm assuming as long as Trump is president, that these sorts of delays will continue indefinitely. The other way to look at it, I think it has something to do with something called CARP, okay? And I'm not talking about fish. CARP is let me put this on here, CARRP, okay? CARP. CARP. What is CARP? CARP stands for, I don't know, let me just Google it here. CARP. CARP stands for the Controlled Application Review and Resolution Program, okay? That's what CARP stands for. And basically, CARP is a program designed to profile and target Muslims. This has nothing to do with the immigration laws. This is not part of the immigration laws. This is something the U.S. government does to discriminate against Muslims and people from Muslim countries. So if your visa is delayed, it might have something to do with CARP. And if I have a client who's Muslim or from a majority Muslim country, I always, in my lawsuit, I challenge the application of CARP. So CARP basically is a program to discriminate against Muslims and people from Muslim countries. When I found out that this program existed, my mind was blown because it's so incredibly unfair and discriminatory to target people simply because of their religion. It's completely anti-American. But nevertheless, I think that my experience and what I observe suggests that people who are Muslim or from majority Muslim countries tend to experience these sorts of visa delays. This is the way it is. It's not fair, but it makes me want to fight back even harder. Okay. So the next thing I want to cover is how does a typical lawsuit work? Lawsuit is the way that I resolve these sorts of delays by filing lawsuits against the U.S. consulate, against USCIS, against consular officers, and other related organizations. But sometimes people say, well, how do these cases really work? Do you have to go to court? Well, I file all of the lawsuits at the U.S. District Court, federal court in Washington, D.C. I file them there because all of the agencies are headquartered in Washington, D.C. The cases are filed online through the court's online filing system. And I have never actually been to court physically. You know, you watch TV and you see lawyers go to court, and this is nothing like that. Typically what happens is if there is a hearing, the hearing is by phone. So you don't have to go to court. You don't have to prepare for anything. It's not very stressful for you. So what is the legal basis of the lawsuit? Well, the basis of the lawsuit is that the consulate in the immigration system has a mandatory legal obligation to make a decision within a reasonable period of time. They have to take action within a reasonable period of time. And when they don't take action within a reasonable period of time, you can sue to force them to do that. And that's the basis of the lawsuit. Sometimes people say, well, can you get money damages? I want to sue the consulate for pain and suffering because I've been without my spouse or my children or my parents for 2 years. We've been waiting for these people to take action for 2 years. And this has cost me so much money and lost wages and time away from work and flights. And I've had to send money back. Can't we sue them to make so that they can make us whole, so they can compensate us for all the pain and suffering that we've been through because of this delay. And I would like to live in a world where we could sue them to get the visas, get the pain and suffering damages from the consulate. But in fact, that's not the way it works. Now, another question that people ask me, I mean, again, the purpose of the lawsuit is to get the visa approved and to get the visa issued. That's the ultimate goal for the lawsuit. And someone else has asked me, well, can we sue the consulate and can we get them to pay attorney fee? Excuse me. Can we get them to pay attorney fees? Maybe we could do the case on a contingency basis where I could do the case and I would be compensated from the consulate. Well, I always phone number. Pardon me. Someone just asked me for my phone number. Here is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to put this up. If you have an issue and you want to schedule an appointment with me, I recommend that you use this. If you click on this link, you can book an appointment with me if you have these sorts of issues, and I can talk to you about your case and how I can help you out. Please, when you do book the appointment, give me a detailed description and tell me exactly what type of visa you're going for and how long you've been waiting and what the issues are, and give me some background. I like that. But to get back to what I was saying, can you sue for attorney fees? The answer is yes and no. There is a statute called the Equal Access to Justice Act, EJA. And under the EJA, you can win attorney fees for cases like this. And I always ask the court to award attorney fees, but as a practical matter, it's very unusual. I think I've gotten attorney fees twice in my career. So it's very unlikely. It's actually practically impossible to get attorney fees. So you're not going to get your fees paid. The cases are not on a contingency basis. So that's what you have to do. All right. So typically what happens is I file the lawsuit in federal court shortly after someone hires me. And the key point is that after you file the lawsuit, the consulate has 60 days to respond. 60 days. That puts their feet to the fire. They have 60 days. Now, sometimes at the end of the 60 days, they will ask the court or ask me to agree to an additional time to file the lawsuit, to respond to the lawsuit. And that can be frustrating for my clients because, they're not going to get their visa within 2 months. But nevertheless, it starts a process that results in the issuance of a visa. Okay, so now I'm going to answer some of the questions that people have and that you might have, and I think this will be helpful. The main question, the biggest question that people ask me is whether or not the consulate will get mad and retaliate against you if you sue them. In other words, if you file the lawsuit, maybe the consulate will just get upset and they will deny your case in retaliation. And the answer is that's not the way it works. In fact, it works in quite the opposite way. Once you sue them, they kind of become scared of you, and they know that the court is going to be supervising their decision making. The last thing in the world they want to do is deny you, and that's why when you sue, there's no retaliation, and there is, this is what they'll do. There's no retaliation. Another question I get is, what type of visas will the lawsuits work for? If you have a delayed visa, will this cure any a delay of any sort of visas? Well, basically, I have used the lawsuits to resolve many different types of visas, non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas. So for immigrant visas, I've used it for employment-based immigration. I've used it for marriage-based visas. And for non-immigrant cases, I've used it for K-1 visas. I've used it for diversity visa lottery. I've used it for J2, J1, F1. I especially like to use these lawsuits for I-730 based cases. So in other words, if you're a refugee or an asylee and you filed an I-730 to petition for your immediate relatives based on an asylum relationship, based on an asylum grant, those cases seem to be always delayed, and they're usually huge humanitarian concerns. I like filing those. Special visa immigrants for people who worked as translators in Iraq or Afghanistan. I've used the Mandamus lawsuit for that. There are two types of cases that I do not file Mandamus lawsuits for. Number one is visitor visas, B1 or B2 visitor visas. I don't take on visitor visa cases. I don't give advice on visitor visas. And there are many reasons for that. I recognize that it's incredibly important for people to be able to visit the United States. And sometimes people are unfairly denied that ability. But nevertheless, for various reasons, I don't take on visitor visa cases. And the second is, if you've ever gotten a message that says, from the consulate, that says, we have sent your case back to the National Visa Center or to USCIS for possible revocation. If you got a message saying that the consulate has sent your file back to the NVC or to USCIS, then I don't recommend a mandamus lawsuit for that. I think that you're better off reapplying or trying to address the problems, because that's effectively a denial. Okay, another question. Sometimes I get this question. I'm located in Los Angeles. We also have an office in Boston. But what if you're located in Texas or Saudi Arabia or Europe or Washington State or some other place? Can I still help you? And the answer is yes. There are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, immigration laws are federal. So the fact that I'm licensed in a certain state and you may be somewhere else doesn't have anything to do with my ability to help you with a federal administrative matter like immigration. The second is that I file all the cases in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C., and I'm admitted to practice in that court. And so your location and my location don't limit my ability to help you. Another question I get is, which consulates have I successfully sued? And the answer is, I've successfully sued many of them. San Salvador, this is just off the top of my head. San Salvador, Juarez, Mexico, Casablanca, the consulate in UK in London, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Casablanca, did I already say that? Islamabad. Wow, have I filed a lot of cases against the U.S. consul in Islamabad. Bangladesh, Jordan. There are too numerous to mention, but the location of which consulate you're located at probably has no impact on my ability to help you. It doesn't matter where the consulate is located, I can still help you file a lawsuit against them and get your visa approved fast. Another question I get from people is, well, is the lawsuit guaranteed to be successful? Is it 100% guaranteed to be successful? And the answer is no, it's not 100% guaranteed to be successful. Most people who hire me have a positive experience and get approved. But if you hire me, that doesn't guarantee, and we file a lawsuit, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be approved. And the other question people ask me is, what is the precise statistical likelihood of being approved if you hire me and file the lawsuit? And again, I don't think that's relevant. Again, this is what I do in response. I tell people to Google my name, Joshua Goldstein, immigration lawyer reviews. Take a look at my reviews. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews online from people for many years, and people tend to say very positive things about me. Most of my reviews are 5-star reviews. I do a good job and try to give people good advice, but I can't guarantee that your case will be approved, and I also can't tell you that you have an 83.6% chance of being approved, or it's 50-50 or anything like that. We have our good friend Batula. Hello, Josh. Just here to say, feeling positive to all that are considering. Please do the Mandamus lawsuit. Trust me, it's worth it. Thank you so much. It's so good to hear from you as well. Positive energy is what I'm sending out to everyone. All right, let me go through a few more questions, and then I'm going to take your questions. So sometimes people say, well, what if you haven't had an interview yet? What if your case is stuck with USCIS or stuck without, it's stuck somewhere in the immigration system, but you don't yet have an interview? So administrative processing, 221G, the focus of my presentation has been on people who've already had interviews, but what if you haven't yet had an interview? Well, you could still challenge a delay. And I think it's important for me to describe what delay I consider to be one where we can file a lawsuit. So if you filed your case more than a year ago with USCIS, so you filed an I-130 or I-129F or I-730, or you filed some underlying application and you filed that more than a year ago, and you still don't have your visa, then I would file a mandamus lawsuit in that case. Sometimes people think, well, it has to be 60 days or 180 days or a year from your interview, but I don't think that's true at all. I've successfully sued for many different types of cases where the overall case has been pending for a year or more. The second thing is if you have a non-immigrant visa, you have an H-1B or an F-1 or J-1, and I'd say 4 or 5 months have passed, then I think that's unreasonable and you can file a lawsuit. So I don't think that you should continue waiting beyond that point. Here's another question I get. What if the consulate says that it's closed because of the pandemic? Can you still file a lawsuit? Would that work? And the answer is yes. I have gotten several visas approved recently from a consulate. And if you go on the consulate's website, the website will say that the consulate is closed and it's reducing its capacity because of the coronavirus. It's only processing cases that are high priority, blah, 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 blah. So if you were to look at the consulate's website, you would gain the impression that the consulate is closed and not normally functioning. But I just got 2 visas approved from that consulate by suing. So I don't think, for me, the way that I look at it, if the consulate says it's closed, that's just more of a reason to file the lawsuit. I don't think that that should stop you whatsoever at all. Another question, this is my last one I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to go through people's individual questions, is the lawsuit confidential? And the answer is no. When you file these lawsuits, it's a public record. Someone could look it up and see whether you filed the lawsuit. But that's the way that works. Now, let me go to the questions that people are asking, and I apologize because some of these are backed up. Let's see here. Okay, Hamza. Thank you, my friend from YouTube. Says, hello, sir. How are you doing today? I'm fine, thanks. Hope you're well, too. I have a question, please. What if Trump wins the election again? Does that mean another extension of the ban? So what Hamza is talking about is President Trump issued a proclamation that prevented the issuance of certain types of visas temporarily. And then that proclamation was extended and expanded. So there are a lot of people with H-1B visas, for example, or preference family petitions whose visas are delayed until the proclamation ends, and it ends on December 31st, 2020, so the end of the year. So the question that Hamza is asking is, if Trump wins the election, does that mean the other extension of the ban? There's an election in November. We could get a new president. If Biden wins the election and becomes the president in January, he will be inaugurated and he'll be the new president. So the question is, what's going to happen with the ban? Well, if Trump wins, Donald Trump and the Republicans are adamantly opposed to immigration in all its forms. And if you can be sure that if Trump wins the election, that visas will not be issued. He will do everything he can to oppose the visas. I don't think the courts will save us because the courts are controlled by Republicans at this point. So I expect that these sorts of delays will continue and the ban and the proclamation will continue indefinitely if Trump wins. That's my personal opinion, unfortunately. But if Biden wins, I expect that the rule of law will continue and resume and visas will be issued. Okay. Here's a question from Brendan. Just got my DS 260 approved. We're in London. The PD is still a ways off. Priority date is still a ways off. March 5th, 2019. Could they call me for an interview before my priority date is current? Okay, so thank you for your question, Brendan. Hope you're well in London. Let me see if I can answer your question. So I think it's probably impossible for you to get an interview or to get approved before your priority date is current. Priority date concept is one in immigration where you're waiting for your place in line to get approved. We have Moonlight. I love your name, Moonlight, in Manila. Love to hear from people in the Philippines. My wife is Filipina, so I have a particular fondness for that country. Manila, the consulate in Manila is only processing expedited, and I already sent 20 requests for expedite, and all of them are denied. Well, I don't know the facts of your case. I never bother with expedite requests. Their expedite requests are usually denied, and you've had 20 of them denied. So what I recommend that you do is consider a mandamus lawsuit. You should reach out to me, contact me, and let's see if we can get your get you approved through a mandamus lawsuit. Thank you for your question. All right, Asif, our good friend from YouTube. Thank you for your question. It says here, I just got 221G and I applied in December 2019 for a B2 visitor visa, B1, B2 visitor visa, and waiting for visa. I applied in Karachi, Pakistan. Well, I think you have to keep waiting. Again, I don't handle visitor visa cases. I don't file mandamus lawsuits to get them approved. I'm very sorry that you're still waiting. I recommend that you do your best to keep waiting, and I hope it gets approved soon. Let's see what else. We have Support to Children. I like that name. A friend of ours from YouTube. Hi, can you please explain how the 4-year 1-day rule can be applied to a resident who stayed out for 7.5 months? Okay, this is a complicated issue. The 4-year and 1-day rule has to do with the residency requirements for naturalization. So if you stayed out of the U.S. for a long period of time, you need to reestablish your residency, and you can do that by moving back to the U.S. and staying in the U.S. for 4 years and 1 day. If you're married to a citizen, there's another rule, 2 years and 1 day or 3 years and 1 day. I've forgotten. But if you stayed out for 7.5 months, I think you really need to consult with an immigration lawyer. Message me. Let's get in touch. Let's see what we can do, because these cases are very fact specific. And I don't think that with just one sentence, it's not enough information for me to determine whether you violated the residency requirement for naturalization. So I think we need a little more information on that. And it's a case-specific thing. So I think you'd be better off getting in touch with me and doing a consultation. But thank you. Trisha, thank you for your question, Trisha. I want to go home in the spring. I've been waiting 2 months for an appointment to have my name changed on my green card. As I went back to my maiden name, also on my passport is in my maiden name now. Is this normal? I don't quite understand your question. Oh, you're waiting to change your name on your green card. Couldn't you travel with your green card now, even though it shows your married name or your maiden name? If there's a discrepancy between your surname on your passport and your surname on your green card, then bring with you your marriage license, and I think you'd be okay. But I'm not quite sure. Brendan also says, Josh, any idea why the visa bulletin is not yet out this month, given the fact that it's a new fiscal year with the numbers reloaded? Why is it not out yet? I don't know. These usually come out in the middle of the month or the end of the month. Maybe it should be out by now. It'll be out soon. Don't stress over it. It'll come out, I'm sure. What other questions do you have? Facebook user, adorable. Thank you. Well, thank you. Let me know what questions you have. I'm here to answer your questions. Oh yeah, finally, one thing I want to tell you. If you would like my help and I can be of any help to you at all, especially if you have a delayed visa and you're considering a mandamus case, then let's see here. You can book a consultation with me directly using this link. That's the best way to get in touch with me. And if you call my office, they will schedule an appointment with you. You can do it that way too. But we have Sharon, our friend from YouTube. She says, how long does it take for the status to change from refused to something else? Again, before I answer your question, refused means delayed. Okay? Refused means delayed. Refused means delayed. Refused does not mean denied. And the question is, how long does it take to change from refused to something else? I really don't pay a lot of attention to the messages on that automated system. In my opinion, the visa is either issued or it's not. And that's the key point. So I really wouldn't stress too much about whether it changes. I think the question that you should ask yourself is, do you want to keep waiting, or would you consider doing a mandamus lawsuit? And I think that if your case was filed with USCIS more than a year ago, you should consider mandamus, and you may be wasting your time by just sitting around waiting for it to change. Hello, Ijaz. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Well, if anybody has any questions, I'll stick around. I'm here for you. I'm here to try to help you out, to try to make things go better, to take the stress out of things, to overcome your immigration hassle so you can be reunited with your family. If you have questions, you can reach out to me privately. I'm here for you. And I want to do everything I can to help people get their visas issued. That's what I have to say. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.